What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into episode 181, everybody. I am your host, SleezBall. Today's episode will be my top 8 waiver wire pickups heading into week 16 of the fantasy football semifinals. And these players are not just going to be waiver wire pickups. Some of these players are going to be startable, especially if you had the injuries to Alvin Kamara, who we're going to have to pay attention to, or Nick Chubb, whose season is done. So before we dive into it here, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscription. Helps me out a ton. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support this season, man. It's been absolutely amazing. And turn that bell on. I will be live one time this week, Thursday, before the game, possibly Friday, but I head out of town to Tahoe for the wife's family Christmas side this week, so I will not be live this weekend. So make sure you tune into Big Draft Energy show all weekend long as co-host of my show. He'll be hosting them all. I will be out of town with the family for Christmas. So let's dive into my week 16 waiver wire pickups, and I'm gonna give you every single position here as well. The first waiver wire target running back we are going to talk about is going to be Jerome Ford. So averaging 9 points per game right now. His snap share last week was at 58%. Nick Chubb went out early in the game, so that snap share, is going to go up more back to what it was at the beginning of the season, which is around 75, 79, 78 average there. So target share still at 8.7%, RB 36 on the year, 451 rushing yards, 186 receiving yards. But what you have to love here is look at the attempts. 87 attempts, 5.18 yards per carry, 2 total TDs. And look what he did last week against Kansas City, the number 1 rushing defense there was when Nick Chubb went out. He only had 7 carries, guys, for 84 yards and a 12 yards per carry average with a touchdown. Saw a little work in the receiving game. Now you're going to get the Cincinnati Bengals. And when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals on the season, you look at their running back, it says, hey, they're middle of the pack, right? It says they're 16th. They give up 22.7 rush yards a game. They're 26 in the red zone, so the touchdown upside is high, 91.4 yards and 1 TD a game. But that's not what I'm going to look at here, because I've done a lot of these season-long things, and my co-host, Big Draft Energy, make sure you sub to him or check out his Twitter page, tells me the better input that I've been using is to look at the last 4 games. So the last 4 games, guys, the Cincinnati Bengals are dead last versus the running back, averaging 32.5. That's an 11-point difference from the season, 285 yards and 3 touchdowns given up. Spend everything you have to get Jerome Ford this week versus Cincinnati Bengals. I don't care if it's waiver 1. I don't care if it's 1,000 FAAB, 100 FAAB, 500 FAAB. It is playoff time. This guy will be flexible, easy. Spend it all to get Jerome Ford. The second waiver wire option you should be looking at is Kendre Miller. So currently averaging 4.2. Snap share was at 47% because Alvin Kamara went out late in that game. A target share at 3.7% obviously wasn't out there. RB 89, 130 rushing yards, only 1 receiving yards because he's been injured and hasn't been out there all year. 28 carries, 4.64. Gotta love the yards per carry. 1 total TD. So that's right. I thought I had the wrong graphic there. But what you need to do here with Kendre Miller, this is going to be risky because it is Monday Night Football, and the update to Alvin Kamara is day to day right now. So if you own Alvin Kamara, this is your 100% must purchase player. If you do not own Alvin Kamara, your lineup's kind of set. You could pick this up as a depth piece, probably 50% in your FAAB, because we're down to the crunch time of the playoffs here. And you're going to get the Green Bay Packers. So the Green Bay Packers versus the run have been about 19th on the season, 23.1 points, 24th in the red zone, 87.1 yards, which is top 15, which is nice there. And then we're going to go look at the last 4 weeks. They're at about the same thing. They've kept the same defense. They're at about 24.1, 239 yards, 2 TDs allowed. But you're going to get volume here. I don't trust that they're going to look at Jamal Williams, maybe a couple snaps for him or there if Kamara is out. Again, this is all a bad situation right here because we don't know what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara probably till Friday, but this is an early gamble that I'm willing to take on Kendre Miller. The third waiver wire option you should be looking at is Tajay, the ankle breaker Spears, man. He was moving and grooving last week for Cincinnati. 28.2 fantasy points in full PPR. Did not get it done on the ground, though. 4 carries, 5 yards, 1.25. Got it done through the air. But we're going to talk about everything here first. 7.9 points per game, 56% snap share last week. Out-snapped Tony Pollard in the snap share, which is crazy. Then he went, he's got 9.2 target share, but he's also missed a couple games with injury. He's missed 5 or 4 games on the year. Then he had the bye, so he's going to look down in the target share. But obviously, he saw 7 targets last week, 67 yards, 7 targets, 6 catches, 87 yards. Just early in the morning, I'm just waking up. 1 TD there. Now, guys, RB 49 on the year, 190 rushing yards. Look at his receiving yards, 177. That's your PPR look. 54 attempts, 3.52. Not a great yards per carry average. He's not good between the tackles. 3 total TDs. But you're going to get the Indianapolis Colts this week. This is your fantasy football pot of gold defense. If you've been subscribed to my channel, this is what I talk about. They can't stop anything, guys. So on the season, they ranked 27th, giving up 24.3 points, 27th in the red zone, 113.1 yards allowed, which is bottom 10, and 80% chance for a touchdown to get or a running back to get 1 touchdown. But let's do the last 4 games as well. So they're 24.3 points allowed over the season. In the last 4 games, they're at 26.6. Even worse. It's gotten worse down the stretch for the Colts, which is what I've been trying to say each time, or every week I talk about this defense. So they've given up 317 yards plus 4 TDs. That's a touchdown a game. Now, their season is over for the Colts pretty much. The season is over for the Titans pretty much. It's going to be a game where you're going to see Tony Pollard, probably Tyjae Spears split, but this is still a great flex option this week just because the Indianapolis Colts are so damn bad on defense. The 4th player heading over to the wide receivers this week is going to be the electric rookie, kind of breaking out player, Jayon McMillan, that I was hyped on before the season started. Obviously, he didn't get out there with Chris Godwin, had a couple injuries early in the season, so it was a rough start for him there. Now, if we're going to look at this, right? So 5.5 points per game. That's going to look bad because he was a 3rd wide receiver for a lot of the beginning of the season, so he didn't get a lot of snap share. He's playing, 60, 20, 40. It's all over the place. Now he's locked in as the wide receiver 2. So his snap share last week was at 64%. The weeks before that, it was 79%, 76%. That is what you like to see here. They blew out the Chargers, so they didn't need to use their 2 wide receiver sets down the stretch. So that would be back up to 75, 80% if he was out there the whole time. Now, 3 touchdowns in the past 2 games. 12% target share. It's going up and up and up. He's literally seen 6.5 average targets in the past 2 games that he's been out there as a starting wide receiver 2, which is what you like to see. He's had 40 targets, 22 receptions, 279 yards, even gets some rushing yards. He's a young little rookie. They like the end arounds. You have to like that. And now you're going to get the Dallas Cowboys this week. And the Dallas Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs just went on to IR. They do have Jerome Ford back. But the Cowboys versus the wide receiver ranked 24th, giving up 34.9 points, 157.4 yards, which is bottom 15, and a 90% chance of a touchdown. But remember, I like to look at the last 4 weeks here. So the Cowboys on the season, 34.9, average that out, right? But the Cowboys in the past 4 weeks are giving up 40.6, which is even worse. And then you look at what they have here for receiving to go with it. They're giving up 730 yards in 4 games and 4 touchdowns. That's a touchdown a game. I might even like Jayon McMillan to score again here, and he is definitely a flexible player this week that you should probably be spending 30+% FAAB if you have any left or whatever you have, because it's the end of the season. Most people don't have a lot of money left right now anyway, but you have to go get this man if he's available. The 5th player on his return from the concussion, wide receiver number 2, you should be targeting on the waiver wire this week is going to be Romeo Douglas. So averaging 6.9 points per game on the season. He's obviously missed 2 games with an injury. There was a slow start to be in the season. Remember, he got benched 1 game. He was crying about his usage. And ever since then, he's been great. So 75% snap share last week. Have to love that. That's the wide receiver 1 usage for them. 18.7% target share, which is the highest for the Green Bay Packers. Wide receiver 49, 58 targets, 37 receptions, 523 yards, no rushing yards, but 4 total TDs. And then you look at last week, they played Seattle, and he's their go-to red zone guy. 2 touchdowns, 20 points, only 5 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards. That's your first game back. Looked kind of funny with him wearing the Guardian cap out there. Didn't really think he'd do that, but he did. Now this week, you're going to get the New Orleans Saints. And the only thing I'm worried about here with picking up the waiver wire with Romeo Douglas this week against the Romeo Saints, because the matchup is great, right? The Saints ranked 28th. They give up 36.5 points, 173 passing yards, which is 4th worst in the NFL, a 90% chance of a touchdown. And then we're going to look at the last 4 weeks as well. They give up 37.9. So 37.9, 36.5 was their average on the season. It's gotten even worse over the past 4 weeks. They traded away Marshawn Lattimore. They lost their lockdown corner. But the only reason I'm not willing to spend a ton of money on Romeo Douglas this week, about 15, 20%, if you have a little bit left, you can spend it, is because I don't know how the game script is going to go here. I think the Packers are absolutely going to blow the Saints out the building, and Josh Jacobs is going to have another 20-plus point game, and they're not going to need to pass much because Jake Hayner's the quarterback. but still a good piece to have heading into week 17 versus Minnesota, who is dead last versus the wide receiver. So you have to pick this guy up a week early. I don't like the start this week. He could find the end zone, of course, but I just don't like the game script. The sixth player and the only tight end you should be targeting on the waiver wire this week and spending heavy money to get is Brenton Strange. So Evan Ingram's season obviously over, and Brenton Strange steps in as the tight end. And there's no other weapons besides him and Brian Thomas Jr. This is the focal point for Mac Jones, who is locked in also as the quarterback with Trevor Lawrence out for the season. So you know the chemistry is already here from last week. They played against the New York Jets last week. We'll get to those stats here in a second. So 5.6 points per game, 82% snap share. That's tight end one usage. You have to love that. Target share at 10.1% because he saw 12 targets last week. That jumped him up a ton. Still a top 30 tight end and didn't really have a chance to even start for the first, couple of games because Evan Ingram was out. So he looked good to start. And then he sat out the next 5 to 6, 7 games there. So he had a little break in between. 329 receiving yards, 2 total TDs. Now, what you have to love here. Last week was the New York Jets. The Jags are going to be in shootout games. Their defense cannot stop anything. They're a pot of gold defense. And the Jets are very good versus the tight end. They are a top 9. They're number 9 versus the tight end. He still drops 18.3 points, 12 targets, 11 receptions, 73 yards. Now, you're going to get the Las Vegas Raiders this week. On the season, the Raiders ranked 29th, giving up 9.5. Oops, hang on. Let me pull up my different chart. This is the wrong one. On the season, the Raiders are giving up 15.4. They ranked 29th. They ranked 29th in the red zone. They give up 64.9 yards, which is 4th worst in the NFL, and a 40% chance of a touchdown. But when you look at the last 4 weeks in the Raiders here, and you got to look how it's going here, they've gotten a little better. They're giving up 11.10. So they have gotten better from the season. Still, the Raiders season is over. They are tanking for Shadur Sanders. You have to love this matchup with Brenton Strange. And if you need a tight end play, I'm probably going to rank him in my top 7 to 8 tight ends on the week. I love this play this week. Go get this man. The 7th player heading over to the QB side here is going to be the old man, Aaron Rodgers. So averaging 16.2 points on the season. He is a top 12 QB, and it's like people don't even realize it. 3,255 passing yards, 101 rushing yards. Absolutely crazy what he did last week. Rushing, we'll dive into that. 8 interceptions, 23 passing TDs. Now, when you're looking at Aaron Rodgers here, you're going to be like, oh, man, it's risky. The Jets, their season is over. All that is there. They're going to get the L.A. Rams this week. The L.A. Rams on the season give up 18 points per game to the quarterback. They rank 12th in the red zone, 235 passing yards, which is bottom 15, and 1.6 passing TDs, which ties for 3rd worst. Now, throw that out the window here. We're going to look at the last 4 weeks of the Rams. Obviously, the Josh Allen aberration game is in there where he goes for 51 and breaks fantasy football, right? But they're still giving up 21.32, 847 passing yards, 5 passing TDs. Obviously, you throw that Josh Allen game in there, it's really going to hurt their stats. But you do have Garrett Wilson. Devontae Adams was wide receiver 1 last week. And here's what's crazy. Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old rushed for 45 yards last week. What is going on here? I love this pickup. It is actually even. He's probably going to be in my top 15 quarterbacks. So if you lost Patrick Mahomes, which looks like he'll be week to week, this is a great plug and play piece right here. Aaron Rodgers is playing a way different football. Now that the Jets are eliminated, it's like all the monkeys are off the back and they're just letting it fly, having fun playing football. And he looks great doing it. 36 points this week, 18 points last week. This is a great average. This is a quarterback that is startable this week in the fantasy football playoffs. And you should be spending any FAAB you have left to go get him if you're missing a quarterback. Last but not least, player number 8, QB number 2 you should be targeting is the rookie Drake May. So currently averaging 14.4 points, QB 22. Obviously didn't step into about week 6, so his numbers are a little lower. Passing yards, 1,898. Gotta love the 359 rushing yards. That's a great number. That's what you want in fantasy football. 9 interceptions, 14 total TDs. Now, last week versus Arizona was kind of an ugly game, but you have to look at his numbers, right? So he was 19 for 23. That's very accurate. Imagine next year when they give this guy any weapons besides Hunter Henry, right? His wide receiver core, they should have Javon Baker out there. It's driven me crazy all year. They don't have any weapons, and this guy's still producing great numbers. I mean, they do have Ramondre Stevenson. I'm not going to say he's not a weapon, but their wide receiver core really kills him. And he still put up 17.48 fantasy points. Great passer rating, or great accuracy rating, 202 yards. Didn't do the rushing like he normally does. He's rushed for a lot more yards than 14. It was a different aberration game here. you're going to get the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are going to score at will against the New England Patriots. So Drake May is going to have to be playing from behind. But the best part about it is not only are you getting the Buffalo Bills in the past 2 weeks have given up a top 8 fantasy QB because they're just in shootout games. So when you're looking at them, they gave up 21.34 points per game, which is second last in the last 4 weeks, 908 passing yards. This is just going to be a great matchup here. But when you look at the Bills on the season, so I did the 4 weeks first here. When I look at Buffalo on the season versus the past, they've been very good. It's just the last couple weeks. So on the season, they ranked 9th, giving up 15.4, which is why you have to look at the last 4 weeks. Again, shout out to my guy, Big Draft Energy. I love that he showed me that a little, later in the season. I love looking at that. Now, is it going to be a flashy start for the playoffs? No. But again, if you've lost Patrick Mahomes, I do like this play this week. Thanks for rocking with me today, guys. That is the end of the episode. That is my top 8 waiver wire players heading into your Week 16 semifinals that you should be targeting, and they're playable because there's injuries across the board that happened at Week 15, which is really brutal for fantasy football. Before we head out, guys, make sure you smash that thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscription button. It helps me out a ton more than you guys know. The absolute support you guys have showed all season long has been crazy. I cannot thank you guys enough, and I'm going to do like something special for the 200th episode coming up here. We're 19 episodes away to give back to you guys for supporting me the whole time. Now, my next video will be my smash starts. 8 players, 2 positions each that are outside the top 10 overall in the season that I think that will score 20 points this week. I'll drop my sleepers today as well, possibly my QB rankings, and then I'll get my running back, wide receiver, tight end probably out tomorrow. I got to, head out here in a couple hours. So hoping I get it all out to you guys this week before Thursday, because last week I did not. It was just a bad week for me, but I will get it out this week, and then I'll be, live again Thursday, Friday as well. So make sure you turn that bell on. And again, that's it for me in this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. SleezBall out.